Hello and welcome to SpaceClaim's introductory tutorial. My name is Roman and today I will be guiding you step by step through SpaceClaim's basic concepts of sketch, pull, and move. We will start by sketching a few shapes on the sketch grid and we will pull and move those shapes to create a model of a wrench, just like the one you see on the screen. First, before we begin any sketching, I want to introduce you to the application menu. The application menu is located in the upper left-hand corner and is where you open, save, print, and set up your user preferences and settings. If you select SpaceClaim options now, I will walk through the preferences that I will be using for this tutorial. In the popular options category, you will find the unit settings. To make the wrench today, we will be working in inches, so please set the units type to imperial, the display value to 1/8 inch fraction, and also toggle on the Show Units box. Now we'll be setting up the grid settings. Choose the default option and you'll see it's 0.1 and 10. Today we'll be using 1/8 inch minor grid size with 8 minors in a major grid. Now that's a tongue twister, but you'll see how this all makes sense once we begin sketching. Now that we've set up our units, let's now set up the snap settings. For this tutorial, I will turn incremental snap settings on and set a linear value of 0.025 and an angular snap setting of 1 degree. In the future, you can change all of these unit and snap settings to customize the SpaceClaim environment that suits you best. So let's get started with the tutorial. You should have a new design space on your screen already, but if you don't, please start a new design from the Applications menu in the top left. Let's begin by sketching some simple shapes. First, we'll sketch a rectangle on our sketch grid. I'll start by selecting the rectangle icon. Click once to start the corner of the rectangle, and then you can enter in values. First, type in the width of 4 inches, but don't hit enter yet. Press Tab to switch to the other entry field and enter in the height of 1/2 inch. If you didn't get the sketch right the first time, just undo using the button in the top left-hand corner of the screen. That's our quick access toolbar. Let's try that again one more time. I'll start by clicking once to start the rectangle, type in the first value of 4 inches, tab to enter the second value of 1/2 inch, and now hit enter to accept both entries. Now we will draw some circles, but before we do, let's orient the sketch grid to be heads up by hitting Plan View. This icon is also located in the Sketching mini toolbar on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. To place the first circle, hover over the end line of the rectangle, and while it is highlighted in green, press Shift once to create a dimension off of that line. This is what we call Shift Touch. Place the center of the circle 1 inch beyond the rectangle, and just go ahead and set its diameter to the same height of that rectangle. We'll do the same thing on the left, but this one will be located farther out. Let's make it 1.5 inches out. Once your sketch is done, enter the Pull tool, and watch how those shapes turn into bounded regions that we can now pull into solids. I'm going to press the trimetric button so we can see everything a little bit better. First, pull the rectangle up 1/4 inch to make it into a box. Now we'll pull the circle on the right up. Start by selecting the surface and watch as you drag it up to any height you want. But let's say that's not really how high we wanted it, and we wanted to pull it up to the top of our other box. So for this we can use one of our tool guides on the right side of our screen. These tool guides give you an expanded operations within Pull, like revolve, sweep, and draft, which you will learn in later tutorials. The first guide we're going to use today is the Up To Body tool guide. So let's select the Up To tool guide and then choose the top of the box. Notice that the cylinder just jumps right up to the surface you selected. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side by selecting the surface, selecting the Up To tool guide, and then selecting the top of the box. Now using the same Pull tool, we can change the diameter of the cylinder by selecting on the cylindrical surface and pulling it out to a new radius. Let's go ahead and set that up to 3/4 of an inch. Before pulling another surface, make sure that nothing is left selected or highlighted. You can do that by selecting out in white space to clear your selection. Now I'll pull on the wall of the box to make it smaller. Or I can pull the wall of the box all the way into the cylinder to merge those two solids into one. Now I want to move the opposite side of the box, so we will need to rotate the model in order to select it. You rotate the model by holding down the middle mouse button while you move the mouse on the screen. Or you could also select the spin icon in the toolbar to do the same thing. While we are learning about navigation, I also want to show you how to pan and zoom. To zoom, press Ctrl and the middle mouse button together while you move the cursor on the screen. And to pan, press Shift and the middle mouse button together and move the cursor on the screen. You could also choose from our preset view settings, which I usually use to get the model back to the view I'm familiar with, the trimetric view. Now let's go back to moving that wall. We are still in the pull tool, but this time we are going to pull to an exact entered value. Select the wall of the box, but this time as you are pulling, hit the space bar. You'll see a highlighted value appear, and now you can enter in the exact distance you want to pull. Let's enter 1.5 inches, which is the exact value we offset the circle originally. And as you can see, those bodies merge together too, and there is only one solid left in the structure tree. Now let's pull on the smaller cylinder, but this time watch as the walls around it adapt to the changing diameter. I want you to change the radius of that cylinder to 3/8 of an inch by hitting the spacebar and typing in 0.375. Alright, let's sketch some more now. Select the circle icon in Sketch and select the top surface of the component to sketch on. Let's draw 2 concentric circles in here to create the handle. This outer one is going to be the same diameter that already exists. Now using Shift touch off the center of the circles, let's place another smaller circle farther up on the handle. Now we're going to create 2 tangent lines connecting the 2 smallest circles. My sketch is a bit cluttered, so I'm going to clean up the sketch by extending some of the edges to create corners. Select the Extend Edges and select the 2 edges you want to trim together. And we'll see how the sketch trims and connects everything nicely to reflect exactly what I want. Now we'll use the Trim tool, and let's do the same on the other side by clicking on that circle. Now we're going to draw a chain of lines to create the jaws of the wrench. Start the first line on the edge of the circle, then draw the vertical line down, and finish the sketch by snapping to the circle again. To end a chain of lines, hit Escape, or you could have double-clicked exactly where you wanted it to end. Now when I enter Pull, I have 3 more regions to pull on. I'm going to show you how to select 2 regions to pull at the same time. It works just like it does in Windows. Select the circular region first, and hold the Control key down while you select the second region that defines the jaws of the wrench. Now that both of them are selected, you can just pull those together and get rid of the material. Now select the center region. But when the mini toolbar pops up, choose the ruler icon. This allows me to set a dimension. You can see that I am prompted to attach the end of my ruler anywhere I want. Go ahead and attach the end of the ruler to the bottom edge of the component, and then enter in a value of 0.1 and watch what happens. The final thickness of that surface is now exactly what I entered. We've been pulling on surfaces so far, but let's finish our introduction to pull by selecting on edges to create fillets. Select the first edge here at this intersection point. Now Control Select and also pull on the edge on the other side. And now let's pull them out at the same time. While you are pulling, hit spacebar to enter in a fillet radius of 1 inch. You could also have right mouse buttons to make that edge into a chamfer instead of a fillet. Or you can even change it back and forth from a fillet to a chamfer after it was already made. Okay, that concludes the basic concepts of pull. If you want to explore more of our capabilities in Pull on your own, or for that matter any of the tools in our ribbon bars, you can hover over the tool to get a tooltip, and then press F1 to expand the help. In the help you will find an AVI that displays how the tool is used, expandable step-by-step instructions, and an introduction to the tool guides found on the right-hand side of the screen that expand the use of the tool. So to summarize, Pull, as you saw, creates, expands, contracts, and deforms surfaces or edges in a variety of different ways. It lets you create volumes by extruding, revolving, blending, or sweeping profiles. But it also allows you to manipulate edges by filleting and chamfering edges. Move is different than Pull because it preserves the surfaces and solids as they are and allows you to transform them by translating and rotating the surfaces or solids to new locations. So now that we have sketched and pulled some basic solid geometry, let's move some of the surfaces around. I'm going to enter the Move tool, and first I want you to select this outer wall of the wrench. You'll see that a 3D handle pops up, which allows you to manipulate the location of that surface. So let's first select the vector pointed in the direction we want to move. And now I can move that surface back and forth. You can see all of the geometry surrounding that surface adapting as I move it. Now while you are moving, and your mouse button is depressed, if you want to escape out of this operation, just hit Escape. Now Control Select to also select the middle surface, and let's move both of them together as a group. I will drop the surface right here, but I'm going to undo. But instead of using the button, this time I'm going to use the hotkey Control-Z, just like in Microsoft applications to undo. Control Select again to select the other cylindrical surface on the opposite side, and I'll move all three together as a group farther out. I can also select the vector in the direction that I want to move and attach a ruler, similar to how I did in Pull. This time attach the ruler to the cylinder at the opposite end of the wrench and enter in a value of 6.5 inches. Now we are going to rotate some of these surfaces using the Move tool. We'll start by selecting all three interior surfaces that define the jaws of the wrench. Notice that the 3D handle chooses a default location. Let's change that default location by selecting the Re-Anchor tool guide and select this edge as the new location for the handle. Now rotate all three of these surfaces together 10 degrees. Now add the two outer surfaces to the group, and let's re-anchor the Move handle again, but this time we're going to drag on it until we get farther back to this arc. Now rotate all 5 surfaces together 15 degrees. To complete our wrench, let's soften up some of those edges by adding rounds. I'm going to do this first by just using Select, which is the arrow located up top. You already know that I can select an edge or a surface, and we know about Control Selecting multiple entities. But if you double-click on an edge, you will get a chain. And if you scroll your mouse wheel, you can query select through surfaces, like this. With Pull and Move, you can pre-select before you enter the tool, if you prefer a selection action order of operations. So let's do that to create these rounds. Let's double-click on an edge to get the entire chain of edges, and continue selecting more edges by holding the Control key down and selecting more. Now, once all of these edges are selected, pull them in to round the corners. Now you have a wrench made from scratch in SpaceClaim, using our basic concepts of sketch, pull, and move. And if you want to save the wrench out, you can do so in the File menu. And after you save, go ahead and open up a new design. I know that you can build a wrench with me, but now it's time to try it on your own. Good luck, and thank you for watching.